God bless you. I'm Dr. Charles Kent, and you've tuned into another edition of A Word Fitly Spoken. Today, we find ourselves in Daniel, and there's something interesting about this young man that I want us to take note of. This I don't know about you, but it's a busy time. It's a time for things to get done, times for dreams to be realized. It's a busy time, and busy people get things done. If you ever want to get something done, you better find you somebody that is busy, because they will. They've got the umph to get it done. They've got the stuff, the wherewithal to get it done, and I am not mad at them. It reminds me of the talents. It reminds me of the individual that had been given 1 talent and 2 talents and 5 talents. And the one that had the 5 found a way to exercise all of them and work them all, excuse me, to the max. And I think that's what God is after. He called him, he said, good and faithful servant. Well done. Did that individual that had that 1 talent, that was afraid and that hid that talent, he didn't get a WD. He didn't get a well done. He got a depart from me, wicked and slothful. And so Daniel is now a busy person. He's in the king's palace and he's being groomed for greatness. His day is full. His activities are mapped out for him. And this is what I see. There was a decree. Then said, verse number 5 of Daniel chapter number 6. It says, then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. They wanted to trap him. They wanted to trip him up. And the only way that they could do that was to talk about or trip him up concerning his God. Then these presidents and princes assembled themselves together to the king and saith unto him, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom and the governors and the princes, the counselors and the captains have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a firm decree that whosoever shall ask a petition of any god or man for 30 days, save thee, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions. There is this governmental decree. There's this statement that comes out that says that we've got to worship. We've got to worship the image. We've got to worship something other than God. And worship is showing worth toward whatever it is. What is it that we worship, that we adore, that we pay homage to, that we exalt, that we esteem even higher than God? It's an interesting thing for me to be this stage, this age, and watch the difference in what people consider to be worship and what they don't, and how they don't see themselves as worshiping an image, worshiping a item, a system, a scheme, a strategy, worshiping the government or the ways of the government. There's this diabolical ploy to monopolize our time and monopolize our energy where we don't worship God. We're so busy. We're so consumed. And when God disturbs your rest, when God wakes you up in the morning, are you going to roll over and go back to sleep? Or are you going to get up and spend some time with him? It may be a sacrifice. It may be difficult, but it's time that God is coveting. It's time that God is desiring. And so Daniel, in the midst of this decree, does this. It says in verse number 8, "Now, O king, establish the decree and sign it so that it cannot be changed by the law of the Medes and the Persians, and establish it and sign it. Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree." Now, when Daniel knew that the writing was signed, I love this. When Daniel recognized that there was a law, it's almost like there was a law against prayer. It's almost like there's a law against intercession. It's almost like, because Daniel did this, he had a pattern of seeking God. Do you hear what I'm saying? Daniel, in the midst of his busyness, living in the king's palace, being groomed for greatness, he had a pattern, and his pattern was not about to be derailed. He had a pattern that said, "I'm going to pray 3 times a day, and nobody is going to stop me. Nobody is going to, not the king's decree, not mama, daddy, not circumstances, not situations. Nobody's going to stop me." Because Daniel purposed in his heart. Early on, we read that where he purposed in his heart that he was going to not defile himself. And defiling himself for him was that I'm not praying. I wonder if that's you. I wonder if that's something that you might want to investigate. How's your prayer life? Are you praying like you used to? Is your draw me near to God not as strong as it used to be? Is seeking God and the counsel of God as pertinent to you and as important to you as it was last year, as it was 10 years ago? Daniel said this: when he knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house, and his windows being open in his chamber toward Jerusalem, he kneeled upon his knees 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did before. What a commitment. What a commitment in someone that worked in positions of authority. What a commitment for someone that this was going to be life-threatening. This was going to be something that was going to cause him trouble. This was going to be something that was going to be disturbing. And when people are disturbed because you want to pray, that's interesting. When people are disturbed because you decide, I'm going to pray. I'm going to pray. I know what I need to do. I need to seek God. Seeking God has never been the wrong answer. Praising God. And look at what he did. He knelt down, he prayed, and he gave thanks before God. In the midst of possibly being brought into question, in the midst of criticism, in the midst of life-threatening examples and situations, what do? What's your MO? What do you do? How do you deal with it? Daniel is beginning to learn a lesson. Something that they taught me back in the day when I was in Jerusalem. They taught me how to pray. Oh my God, they taught me how to seek God. They taught me how to not look at what I see in the natural, because there was more going on in the unseen world than there is in the seen world. They taught me how to walk by faith and not by sight. They taught me how to seek God and pray through. You know what that's what they said. We're going to pray through. It's for those that don't know what that means, we're going to pray until we get a breakthrough. We're going to pray until we sense a breakthrough in the spirit. We're not going to stop. I remember times when I was assigned to stand in the place of a pastor while he was away. And every time it came to my mind, we would get together as a body of believers and pray for Bishop. Every time we got ready, every time I thought about it, we prayed. Every time it was just remotely a thought, I said, it's time for us to pray. Because the devil is not going to bring to your mind and to your heart, it's time to pray and seek God. And so I just took it as being God. And so we had a minor breakthrough. Pastor Bishop had gotten back from his trip and he was in New York. And I let the people stop me from praying. They was rejoicing. Oh, he's fine. He's everything. He's back. And I didn't really feel that. And I apologize, sir. But they did. And they stopped me. And he got contracted illness in New York on his way home. Pray. Men ought to always pray and not to faint, not fall apart in necessary times. Always pray. I got to go.